Okay, so this is really just, I've just laid out some cards. I'm just gonna put this at the beginning of all of the videos, just to let you guys know what the June spread actually is like. So I'm just gonna walk you through that here at the beginning so that you know what the spread covers, what each of the cards is going to represent. Then after this, I'm gonna film the pre-shuffle because I've had several people actually request that. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to do that, and I'll probably just speed it up just because I can't imagine anyone wants to sit and watch however long it takes for all the cards to come out. But I will actually film that and play that as well following this, and then we'll go into the actual reading. So if you don't want to watch that, I'm gonna put some time markers up for you guys here at the beginning so that you know where things are during the actual reading itself. And with that explained, I'm going to walk you guys through the cards. So we're going to be starting here on the side. This card number 1 is going to represent the overall energy for the reading, and then we're going to work from the left across to the right. And so it's going to be card number 1, and then card number 2 will actually be the card on top. These cards here on the top, so these 4 cards here, these cards are specific to the sign. So whichever sign I'm doing in the video, the top 4 cards, so these cards here, those are going to represent the sign itself. So these 4 here on the bottom are going to represent the other person. So for example, if you are watching your own sun, moon, Venus, or rising sign video, then these top 4 cards are going to be the cards that relate to you. The bottom 4 cards would be the card related to the other person that you're thinking about, or that you maybe are involved with, or want to be involved with, or were involved with. Hopefully that makes sense. For the cross watchers who are watching, it's going to be the same thing. These top 4 cards are going to be specific to the actual person whose sign you're watching. And the bottom 4 cards are going to be related to you. You would be the other in the situation, the cross watcher. So let me explain what these cards represent. So this row here, this is going to be the sign's current energy, the other person's current energy. This is going to be the sign's underlying issue or fear, the other person's underlying issue or fear. This is going to represent the sign's obstacle, the other person's obstacle. This is going to be the sign's desired outcome, the other's desired outcome. And this card here on the end is the advice or guidance card. So that's going to be how the spread itself works for this month. I am only doing 1 reading per sign for the entire month of June. And then during the month, I'm going to do some other readings as well, some like pick a card readings, some spreads that are specific to, should I reach out? Are they going to come back? Is this person the one? I just want to do more of those readings. So I'm just going to do 1 monthly love reading for each sign for June. And that is how that's going to work. So with that explained, now I'm going to clear these cards away. And we will actually move right into the pre-shuffle. Hey Scorpio, just want to give you guys a rundown on the pre-shuffle. First card out, you have the 8 of Pentacles upright. I really feel like right now you're focusing on yourself, specifically on increasing or enhancing your skills. You could be considering furthering your education or taking classes or workshops. There's also an energetic sense that you're really dissatisfied with certain parts of your life and you're actively working to make them more like you want them to be. The second card that came out was the 10 of Pentacles reversed. Again, I think you're looking at your relationship with money and you're questioning what you are and are not willing to do in order to make it. This means you might be willing to drastically shift things like where you live, what your goals are in terms of material accumulation, and strategizing ways to decrease your expenses and increase your free time and happiness. The last card that came out is the Queen of Cups reversed. I think it's time to really focus on yourself, Scorpio. You've been a caretaker to others for so long that you've forgotten that you need to care for yourself as well. You're getting a lot of guidance right now from your angels and guides, but you have to listen in order to benefit from it. I also noticed that for most of the last half of the shuffle, the Death card was on the bottom of the deck. So I think that this reading is really going to resonate for a lot of Scorpios who watch this video. So hi Scorpio, welcome to your June 2019 reading. I do have to say, Scorpios, it's it's been challenging getting you guys to engage with these videos, and I'm not sure why. I'm a Scorpio myself. I actually have a ton of Scorpio in my chart. And I think part of what might be going on is I get a little bit weird when I start to do the Scorpio readings, because in a way I feel like I'm reading for myself, or maybe I try not to read for myself because I don't want to just like put whatever's going on in my life onto the reading. I'm hoping that this reading that I'm doing this time, since it's very much just sort of up to chance, I'm just going to go right off the top of the deck. And, you know, I've assigned a certain meaning to each card. I'm hoping maybe this will connect with you guys a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and just start laying out the spread while I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, you know, I haven't gotten a ton of views or interactions on any of the Scorpio videos that I've put up. And some of the other videos have really had a ton of attention. So, you know, to the Scorpios who are hearing me right now, if, you know, leave me a comment about what it is you aren't clicking with the video. If you're, or share it out with other Scorpios. Like, I know tons of Scorpios myself. So if you do like the reading, then maybe just, you know, send it to a fellow Scorpio and tell them to check it out. Help me spread the word, because I would actually really love to have a lot of Scorpios on the channel. I think that would be super fun, but let's see how we do on this. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into the reading. We're going to start here with this card, which is the overall energy for the reading. This is not specific to either the Scorpio or to the other person. This is just the vibe of what's going on. Okay. So first card out for the overall energy, we have the Five of Pentacles. This did come out upright. You know, even though this is a love reading, I will say that what I feel energetically from this card is there is a lot of weight around finances right now. It could be that some of you possibly either just lost a job or found out that you will be losing a job soon. I also think that for others, there has been either a decision or an unexpected event that's happened or been made, and that's required there being much more pressure on finances for this year that wasn't expected. So that could mean, you know, a decision. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything bad. It could be, you know, a decision to take a trip out of the country, and so you're suddenly realizing you have to, you know, either make extra money or save money, or a close friend or family member has decided to get married and they're doing it in a very short time period, and so you're having to, like, you know, plan to go on that trip. But I do feel like there's a lot of pressure right now going on with you that is around your finances, and I think that there's a lot of anxiety and worry around whether or not you're going to be able to make this happen. I feel like, you know, you do have faith that you can sort of, I guess, like, have a hustle when you need to, but this is just sort of come out of nowhere, and it has you a little bit uneasy about whether or not you're going to be able to make this happen. Now, you know, that's the overall energy for the reading. I think that's where a lot of your focus and sort of like where your emotions are around that sort of energy of, you know, really focusing in on money and finances. But let's see what the rest of the reading has to show. So Scorpio, let's look at what your actual current energy is yourself. Okay, interesting. So you have the World card. This did come out reversed. Yeah, so there's something else that's going on here, and I can tell you just the energy coming off of the card itself is just this really annoyed, frustrated sort of energy that there's something that you really want it to be done. You want it to be closed out. You want to get closure and be able to move on from this thing, but it's just not happening. And it's really annoying you and it's affecting you. It's sort of like your energy is wrapped up in this until it's just not anymore. And I feel like it is something that eventually, at some point, you will be able to sort of disengage yourself from it, but that's going to take a while. And it would be better, it would be easier if, I want to say this is about this other person, or maybe it's a different person altogether, but it's almost like there's this other person that could make the closure happen more swiftly, and it would be easier if they were involved, but they're just not willing to do it. Now, what's interesting is I don't feel like there is necessarily a malicious energy there. It's not that the person is deliberately not putting an end to it just to like annoy or frustrate you. But it's also not like a very kind vibe either. You know, here's what it almost feels like. It feels like I'm gonna use the analogy of like a breakup or a relationship ending, because I'm not sure yet from the energy sort of what exactly is going on, but I want to give you at least an indication. It's almost like, you know, you have two people who are in a relationship and they have this sort of like breakup, and then they just stop talking to each other. At some point, typically in relationships, those two people will sit down and they'll have sort of a closure talk where, you know, they say the things that need to be said and they wish each other well, and they go their own ways, or they try to decide how they're going to go forward with each other, whether they're going to try to remain friends or whether they might try the relationship again, right? There's usually this coming together for closure. What this feels like to me is that you're ready to have that conversation, Scorpio. You're ready to have that conversation about closing this out, but the other person won't engage. And it's not that they're not engaging to sort of be like an ass and just be like, you know, no, I know you want that, so I'm not going to do it. It's more like they don't want to let it close either, but they just don't want to have any sort of conversation. They don't want to talk about it. They're so energetically checked out, and that's their way of dealing with it and coping with it, which is really the opposite of what Scorpio is like. That's what this card feels like. It's just this real heavy annoyance at this cycle not closing out when you really want it to just end. Like right now, it just feels like you're very much in limbo. So let's check out this other person's energy. Okay, very interesting. So they have the Eight of Swords coming out upright. Now, you know, this is the card of, you know, being your own worst enemy, basically, where it's, you know, feeling like you're trapped, feeling like you're surrounded, you have no options, you're, you know, backs against the wall, but in reality, you're causing all of this fear and anxiety within yourself, and there's really nothing that's going on. I'm going to say with this reading that the person I was talking about earlier that's just not wanting to have things close out is actually going to be this other person in this reading, because I feel like this matches. Because it feels like they are actually really scared to have this conversation with you. And I think it's because they feel like I think, Scorpio, you've actually said to them, or at least like hinted or alluded in some way to them, that you're open and you're receptive to having this conversation. You want to have the conversation. But they also know that at some point between the two of you, what it feels like, Scorpio, is that what you said to them is not necessarily what happened or what you meant or what you did. And so they are very untrusting that this isn't going to be an ambush or some sort of kind of like they're really concerned that you might be trying to get revenge on them. And maybe you are. I mean, you know, as a Scorpio, I can say if we feel like we've been done wrong and we really are righteous in that, revenge is not something that is sort of beneath us. It's actually something that we, you know, tend to do and something that we can be quite good at. So that this person, their current energy is just this real feeling of, you know, they're in their heads about it. They're really making it out to, they're only considering the negative possibilities. They aren't allowing there to be room that potentially what you're saying to them is the truth. But I feel like they're justified in that. Energetically, it feels like they're justified in being in that sort of space. So let's take a look at the underlying fears and issues. I'm going to start with Scorpio. Okay, so we have the Ace of Swords. This is coming out upright. You know, this is interesting because Scorpio, I think that your big fear is that you know that a decision has to be like, it has to be something that's really swift. You have to go. You have to, like, this limbo thing isn't working for you. Like, it's not something that is, it's not something you can exist in for very long because it drives you insane. And so you know you have to, there's like, you want to make something happen, but there's a fear of that. You have a fear of just going, of just this really quick, it's what you want. It's interesting. What you want is to actually just make a choice, go. It's this very like swift, it's like a breakthrough, like breaking away from everything, getting out of the quicksand. Just, it's this very powerful urge, but you're scared of that. You're scared to make that move. And it's not even necessarily that it's a specific thing yet in your head. You're not even allowing yourself to think about what you might do. You're just sort of in, you're so stuck in this limbo and you're so held back that you're not even able at this point to imagine what you might do or what you would want to do or what might work. Like, you can't even get to that point because you have such a fear around actually having to do that thing. So let's check out the other person, what their underlying fear or issue is. Okay, so this is, in this deck, it's the Princess of Cups, it's the Page of Cups. It did come out reversed, which is interesting. Yeah, so what I'm really, the vibe coming off of this is just this very emotionally immature energy. And I feel like for this other person, their fear, the issue that they have is that they perceive you to be someone who is a bit emotionally immature, Scorpio. You know, going back to this where it's like they don't know if they can trust you and they feel like it might be an ambush. And I said earlier, you know, it's like they have a little bit of justification in this. I also feel like this card is slightly justified. I feel like this person just makes you, in a way, almost like just lose your mind. Or not necessarily like you go crazy or anything, but it's like all of the things that you do to sort of be sensible and to be, you know, in control and to be, you know, how you want to be, right? Like the way that you prefer to be, because it gives you comfort and makes you feel like you have control over your life, over what's happening. This person just makes all of that stuff fly out the window, and you are sort of this like really, you know, emotional person towards them. And I feel like sometimes that might manifest in, you know, like, you know, you have like really big passionate fights with the person. But I think also it's just little things like, you know, they're always the exception to your rule. If there's something that you're like, You know, I don't do this. I don't do this thing with, you know, for people or with people. You will with them. Or even, you know, I won't do this again with you, Scorpio, but, or for Scorpio, it's like, I won't do this again, but then you do, right? It's like this person gets lots of chances where other people wouldn't get chances, right? But because you do that, because they make you sort of have this like almost like spastic, like emotional, energetic reaction to them, they perceive you as being very emotionally immature because you feel to them like you aren't comfortable with your emotions. And the fact is you're not. You're not comfortable with these emotions. You're not comfortable with how you are with this person. You're actually very uncomfortable with how they make you feel. So, you know, their judgment is based on observation. I feel like that's how this person works. They really observe the world and they sort of take in clues and they look at context and they try to be very logical about how they think. And so observing you and how you are, they're justified in sort of like having this fear that, you know, I don't know if I can trust this Scorpio because they seem like, you know, they aren't in control of their emotions. They don't, you know, they don't know how to deal with what they're feeling. And that's true, but it's because of them. And it's because of how you feel about them, but also how they are as a person. I just feel like there's something about this person that just makes you unable to keep up all of the like boundaries and the rules, and they make you just sort of lose control of yourself. And that may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing, right? We'll see sort of what happens with the rest of the reading. But it's an interesting energy and vibe between these two people for sure. Scorpio, let's check out what obstacles in your path of sort of being able to deal with this fear or issue. Okay, so we have the Queen of Pentacles coming out upright. Now, it's interesting this card is in, you know, the obstacles path because I don't actually see this as a person. I don't think there's a person who's in your way. I think this is the, if you take the energy of the Queen of Pentacles, I think this is what's actually in your way. So, you know, if you think about the Queen of Pentacles upright, this is like the ideal, like, spouse. So feminine energy, so it's more of like the nurturing, caretaking, you know, homemaking, that sort of like energy. But it could be male or female in terms of, you know, the gender of the person. But I think, Scorpio, what's happening here is that you have a big fear of being domesticated in a way. You know, when you think of this, you know, of this other person, you fear, you really do have like a block in terms of envisioning yourself with this like white picket fence and, you know, being settled down and, you know, having kids. Like that is something that really makes you not feel like yourself. And it sort of goes against, I think, going back to this with this Ace of Swords, I think it goes against what you are feeling in terms of, you know, what you think it is that you want to do or what you feel like you're supposed to do with your life, at least for a while, but maybe permanently. It just feels like when you think about settling down, it feels like being trapped to you, and you're not drawn to that. You're not really wanting to end up in that sort of relationship. Let's look at the obstacle for the other person here. All right, this is interesting. So we have the Wheel of Fortune. This came out in reverse. Yeah, it's okay. So this card, let's just talk about the card first, and then we'll put it into like context for this other person. You know, when this card comes out reversed, it for me at least, I can see it going two ways. One is that someone is feeling like they don't have control, and so they are clinging to control wherever they can, trying to like prevent something, trying to make it so that it's almost like they're cursing themselves by controlling everything. But where they're coming from, the reason for the control is that they're trying to prevent bad things from happening. But really, by trying to control everything, they're causing things to not happen that could be good. And so they're actually keeping themselves stuck in a way. That's one energy for this. The other one is actually about, for me as a reader, when the card is upright, I see it as a natural sort of like, more like life cycles. So it's like a longer sort of journey of cycles throughout life when it's upright. For me, when it's reversed, the flip part to that energy is forcibly breaking a cycle. I feel like there's a little bit of both going on with this person in terms of the obstacle. I feel like where they're at right now is they are trying their best to just control their urge to engage with you. It's like they fight themselves regularly trying to control, to prevent having to engage with you, because they do have this fear. They do want to reach out. They do want to talk. They want to have that sort of like closure conversation that I talked about, but they don't know if they can trust you, and they feel like you're very emotionally unpredictable. And so they're fighting it constantly. They're just, their obstacle really is about like, trying to control themselves. And what they're trying to do is they think that by holding back and not engaging and not actually like dealing with it, that's going to be the thing that puts an end to it, that'll be the thing, it'll just sort of like run its course and time will deal with it. But that's not the case with this particular thing. And it's also just not how Scorpios work, right? Like, we are very patient when it comes to things like this. We will wait. The long game for us is something that we are very good at. And so if we need to wait 2 years even to have something happen the way that we sort of prefer it to happen, we will wait, even if it's painful. Like, we will bear the weight of the pain just so we can then get the like satisfaction of having the thing that we wanted. And so, Scorpio, I do feel very much like you want to have this interaction with this person. And so if they're going to try to wait you out, they're going to fail at that. But they are really trying to control themselves, and they're going to, they've done a good job so far, I think, of keeping themselves in check and not reaching out and not engaging. So, I do feel like they could potentially take this for a while. I'm really curious to see what comes out next, because this is the desired outcome for the two of you. This energy reminds me of that movie, The War of the Roses, in a way. Okay. So, as the desired outcome for Scorpio, we have the Two of Swords coming out reversed. This is weird. This is a weird card for a desired outcome. This card really is about like confusion around a decision and not being able to make a decision, and sort of like a stalemate type of energy. And okay, so Scorpio, I think that you like this. I think that you like this sort of like stalemate. I think you like the fact that this person is holding back the way that they are. It's almost like
you know that the fact that they're holding out is because they're intimidated to engage. And that feels good, even though them holding back doesn't feel good. So it's sort of like you, Scorpio, I think where you're at right now, honestly, you sort of want to keep this going. It feels like you think that you're sort of toying with this person because they're wanting you to give up and you're not going to, but you're also really not doing much to sort of engage with them either. It's like you're enjoying this sort of like, it feels, like a game to you, and it feels like a fun game. I'm so sorry to the whatever cross watchers are listening to this. I'm very sorry, but this is also just very Scorpio. Um, yeah, Scorpio, I think you want to keep this going for a while. So let's see what the other person wants, because I mean, who knows? You two might be on the same page. Okay, this is so crazy. All right, so for the other person, their desired outcome is the Two of Cups reversed. Um, they really, really want to be done with this. They do. They really want to be able to, like, just have this be done and to just not have to worry about the fact that they don't trust you. Clearly, from the other stuff, going on here, like, I don't think that that's going to happen, because there's really only one way that they can actually have this be done and over with, and that is to sit down and talk to you, Scorpio, and to say the things that need to be said and address the things that need to be addressed, and have both people admit to things. And that's what the Scorpio requires to really have closure and to be okay with things. So that, I mean, you are in a stalemate right now. You're sort of staring each other down, and it's like the world's slowest game of chicken. You are slowly moving towards this moment where you have to engage with each other, but neither of you are moving very quickly, and you're dragging your feet the entire time. So let's see what the advice card is. Okay, so here's the advice card. We have the Three of Swords coming out in reverse. Yeah, I feel like, again, I think that's a weird card for advice, honestly. I think, here's what I'll say. I think that both of you have to reach a point of forgiveness. And I think that's forgiving each other and also forgiving yourselves. And, I think between these two people, there was a lot of stuff that happened. There was a lot of stuff that was done. There was a lot of stuff that was said. But I also feel like between these two people, there was also a lot of love, and there was a lot of genuine concern and a solid connection. And so those things combined have just left both people sort of reeling and not really knowing what to do next, how to move forward. The only thing that you can do, Scorpio, is to forgive the other and try to forgive yourself. You don't have any control, unfortunately, over whether or not the other person will forgive you. That's up to them. And your forgiveness of them doesn't have any impact on their ability to forgive themselves. So in order for this to really move forward, you would both have to forgive each other and both manage to forgive yourselves. And right now, I don't see that being where you're at energetically. The other way that this could potentially resolve itself is if the two of you do eventually manage to find a way to sit down and just have a really honest conversation. Just lay it all out on the table, be really honest and truthful. See what happens when that conversation is had. Sometimes those conversations just drive home the point that we need to be done and we need to walk away and we need to, not engage with each other anymore. At other times, those conversations actually do offer some healing, and they push the door open a little bit so that, maybe there's some way of navigating this and maybe there's some way of trying again. Yeah, this has been, I will say this, if you've made it with me to this point, this has by far been the most Scorpio reading that I've done. This has just felt very much Scorpio, and I'm hoping that this will be the video that maybe gets some Scorpios to engage and like the video and subscribe to the channel and leave some comments, because I would like to have the Scorpio energy on my channel. It's weird being a Scorpio and not getting the Scorpios to connect. So hopefully. I don't think there's anything here that needs to be clarified. I think that this has pretty much been straightforward about what's going on. I will just say, Scorpio, for those of you watching this video, I do understand how it can feel good and it can feel almost exciting to sort of stay in the turmoil and, Scorpios are drawn to sort of darker, sometimes painful situations. It's how we evolve, and it's how we get in touch with our own feelings and explore sort of the depths of what exists inside us. So it can be very appealing to be in a situation where there's lots of potential pain for us to have to deal with. But I would just say, don't extend that too far. If this person does reach out, if this person does decide to engage with you, go into that conversation from a sincere place. Go into that conversation ready to be really honest. Go into that conversation willing to be vulnerable and also to be open and receptive to what this other person has to say. And try to go into it as trusting as you can. And whatever is preventing you from trusting fully, that's part of what has to be put on the table during that conversation between the two of you. You have to be able to express to them what it is that's preventing you from trusting them, so that they can, hopefully do the same with you. The two of you have to put those things out there, because that's the only way that you can deal with them and try to see whether or not they are things that you can heal and work through. Because for both of these people, trust is paramount. And so if they don't trust each other, there's no possible way for this to work. So it's going to be tricky trying to navigate what is going to have to happen to get that trust back, because you're going to have to share with each other why you don't trust each other. And that's going to feel like a very risky, dangerous type of conversation, because it could be. But I think if you go into it with the right motivations and the right intent, the conversation will actually go really well. Whether or not this is something that will, lead to like a reunion or getting back together, it's way too early to even try to guess that, because there's so many variables that have to play out before that could even be a conversation. But I can say that, if this does make it to the point where a conversation is being had, I think if both people show up for it honestly and they speak from the heart and they share and they're vulnerable and they don't hold back, I think the conversation itself will be very healing. And that alone would be a good thing to sort of come out of this, would just be for both people to get some healing and to learn a little bit more about themselves and, get a better understanding of who they are and why they are the way that they are. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much. If anyone is still hearing me, absolutely leave me a comment and let me know you made it to the end, because I think that's awesome. I will be back for readings for July for Scorpio, but during the month of June, I am going to be doing readings that aren't really sign specific. That will just be, I want to do a twin flame reading. I want to do some readings about,
who should I pick? You know, those sorts of readings that are just for people who are in specific situations, not necessarily specific sign readings. So this would be the reading for June, and I'll be back with another Scorpio reading for July. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please take a moment just to hit the subscribe button. And if you want YouTube to send you notifications when new content is published and uploaded to the channel, make sure that you click the bell notification icon as well. Thank you so much, Scorpios. I'm sending out lots of energy right now that I get tons of Scorpios engaging with this video, lots of Scorpio comments, lots of Scorpio love, lots of Scorpio subscribers. That would make me super happy. So let's try to work on that, okay? All right. I love you guys, Scorpios. I'm one of you. I will just say, you know, I love you guys to death. I love Scorpio energy. I have tons of Scorpios in my life. So, subscribe to the channel. Come on, do it. All right, bye.